everybody, what's up, and welcome back to the channel and more Birthright here as we take a look at the next in the line of the Banshegh that we're going to be looking at here. That's the Banshee, which is one of the more interesting and weird ones in the sense that it's essentially two different people or beings in one, which we'll cover here. So I do love one thing with the Blood Enemy supplement too. They always, just about all the entries kind of start with like as if the Banshegh itself has been like personally interviewed, so like a little bit of like first person there. So the interesting thing with the Banshee is that there's kind of the split nature. There's Justina, who's the human side of it, or we should say elven in this case, by day, but then by night there is the Banshegh known as the Banshee. Now there's all kinds of interesting rumors as to are they one and the same being? Is there like two different entities at work here? Are they in fact two separate beings? So there's all kinds of fun rumors. So on players first encountering this, assuming we're adventuring in and around her small domain, bordering on the Brecht region or within the Brecht region, we have essentially a lot of rumors at first, and really the players should have to work to uncover a lot of the details here and kind of figure out really is what the real situation is with this person. Now, some of the neighboring realms that we've covered, like Troycht and Royalguard, have dealings with her, or in some cases outright enmity, and so maybe that would be like a place to start there. So jumping in here with a little bit of the description. So the first Banshee is Justina Hoylo, the elven leader of a very small independent nation of humans nestled among the mountains of the Silent Watch. She's a just leader who protects her people like a mother lioness does her cubs. She commonly visits the few hamlets in her domain so the people can talk to her and express their complaints and commendations. She truly listens to their ideas for a better country, though she's always careful before acting on any of them. She's a handsome elven woman. She's never been an enchantress by any means, though her sweet disposition and kind wisdom have many seeing through her compassionate eyes. She is widowed, her human husband having died nearly 30 years ago, and which we'll come to find out is really part of the reason as to how this split happened as far as the evil Banshegh side of it. She does have 3 children who are grown and live with their spouses deep in her domain or in Royalguard. Her half-elven children live under aliases, not letting anyone know who they are, although they have ways of proving it if that should somehow arise. And that could be maybe sort of a start of an adventure hook or something as well, where they maybe encounter one of the children and have some sort of need of venturing into her domain for some contact, who knows what. Or perhaps one of the children has been found out and you need to either escort them back to her domain or protect them in some cases. Maybe that is what gets you contact with her, and you do get commendations. But then, once you start spending time in the realm, you start noticing some of these weird discrepancies. So now the second one, which is one we're a little more interested in, is the Banshee. And this arises whenever she falls asleep. So almost like an astral travel spell, it separates from her corporeal body like a spirit and haunts the mountains of the Silent Watch and nearby Troycht and Royalguard. There is a connection between the two, which has been ascertained from the use of locate person spells on the sleeping Justina. They indicate that she's actually in 2 locations at once. Not even this evidence, though, can sway her mind to believe this. She harshly dismisses anyone who even suggests that there's a connection between her and the hated name of the Banshee. Regardless of her inclination to ignore the evidence, though, the Banshee closely resembles her face and form, though it's made entirely of dark mists and some low blue glowing energy. The Banshee is rarely seen directly, but it's visible out of the corners of one's eyes. Looking at her most often results in looking through her. So, and again, they do some pretty decent artwork here on that versus her elven side. So overall pretty decent there. But let's continue on with some more of the description, figuring out really what is going on with the Banshee's side of it. Alrighty, continuing on. So sages who study the Banshegh have 2 theories on Justina and the Banshee. Some believe they're one and the same, and her dual form is simply simply a unique way of manifesting the Azrai-born abilities. The second theory, though, states that the Banshee is some previously unknown form of divine essence, and it entered Justina sometime after the destruction of Deismar. Those who subscribe to that theory can't offer any evidence that this essence inhabited other beings in the past 1500 years. However, the Banshee's activity in this area, or in Cerealia at all, didn't begin until after the death of Justina's husband, and that occurred roughly 30 years ago. So it's somehow been with her since that time. And so again, that's another sort of piece of not necessarily lore information, but something that the characters might gradually start to uncover, just like little bits and snippets here of what is going on, and really they should essentially uncover that, or come to the conclusion that there are these two possibilities, and maybe see which one they feel is the right, and that could lead them down different courses of action. But they should learn of both sort of competing theories, or come up with them on their own, and then see which one proves more fruitful as they try to investigate further. Both theories are torn over how to dispose of the Banshee. This ultimately would be then like what the characters would want to try to maybe accomplish. For all agree that the Banshee is a malevolent and dangerous, or is as dangerous and malevolent as Justina is kind and just. So if we kill Justina, the Banshee will be destroyed. However, sages can't decide if killing the Banshee at nighttime would then also kill Justina. If the Banshee is actually a manifestation of the sleeping Justina's spirit, both would die if the Banshee is slain. However, if the Banshee is simply some malevolent invader linked to Justina, severing the link or destroying the Banshee could either free Justina of her curse, or set the Banshee free to roam night and day, since it's no longer being held in check by Justina. So it's just a fascinating dilemma here, and just something so different than a lot of the other Banshegh that are just kind of like brute force monsters. You have really kind of a moral dilemma built in here as well. However, there is a little bit more lore here, and that could be something as sort of a fun side quest or fetch quest in some instance, where the characters have to do some actual research to uncover this bit of information. And however the characters uncover that, the DM could gradually leave more and more breadcrumbs until they maybe come up with a rumor that leads them to this next bit here. A set of scrolls rests in the Royal College of Sorcery's library at the Imperial City of Anweir, and maybe if the party has a mage in the in the party, that they might remember vaguely reading about something like that during their studies. And it's collectively titled The Scrolls of the Tainted. These 20-year-old scrolls hold a different story on Justina. The scroll's author used unspeakable arcane methods to locate the true relationship between Justina and the Banshee. He allegedly found that she was cursed by Karat, a cousin of the provincial leader of Royal Guard and a priest of Azrai. Despite Azrai's destruction at Deismar, Karat drew power from some source for spells, though it's not clearly elaborated in the text. Evidently summoned a Shadow World Wraith of some sorts to haunt Justina. It's inactive during the day and can only come out at night, and that could be a clue that the characters maybe just somehow stumble upon on their own if they do a little bit of lore and investigating into the Shadow World. No spells have yet been used to check for such a curse, though. And so, since it only comes out at night, that gives the impression that the Banshee's only around when she sleeps. So, the Banshee and Justina do not share the same blood abilities, and this, sages believe, then tends to prove that the two are separate entities that somehow share the same body. In any event, the Banshee is very dangerous in both forms. So in addition to her blood abilities, the Banshee's nighttime incarnation has all the known powers of common Banshees, which again is kind of a feature of all the Banshegh. Like they're kind of like the prototype of that given monster with more abilities in most cases. Includes a wail that kills even the hardiest hero and an immunity to charm, sleep, and hold spells. The Banshee's unique ability allows her to enter the minds, though, of sleeping victims and frighten them to death. Those few who have encountered her and lived to tell the tale aged 10 years in their sleep. Another Banshegh, Mason, the Wolfman, had basically a dream battle with her, and it kind of ended in a draw, and that's kind of led to an ongoing enmity between the two. However, the dream tales are wild and unbelievable. She can seemingly manipulate essentially other people's dreams to cause damage, sort of to the dream self that happens in the real world. So, for example, 25% of damage done in a dream is incurred by the character's real body. Of the few survivors of a dream battle with the Banshee, most report that she most often prefers to manipulate the landscape in setting of a dream rather than directly fight with a person's dream self, putting earthquakes and deep crevices underfoot to frighten and injure the dreamer. So then let's take a look at the difference here between Justina and the Banshee. So similar intelligence, obviously the different activity cycles. Justina is considered chaotic good, whereas the Banshee is chaotic evil. Different movement there, size the same, both considered to have very high armor classes, pretty big pool of hit points there. Justina is considered essentially like a level, or saves at least as a level 9 fighter, whereas the Banshee is a level 11 as far as that's concerned. In Thaco, doesn't exist anymore in 5th, so number of attacks, just 1. You may want to adjust that depending on what you got, what you want as DM's discretion there. Yeah, different damages, special attacks, defenses, really is all about that stuff on the Banshee side. Has magic resistance as well. And both, though, have a blood ability, and that's or bloodline, and that's the unfortunate part for Justina. She does have Azrai's bloodline, and a pretty solid bloodline at that. Now, hefty chunk of points, or XP, if we did end up taking out Justina as Justina, but if somehow the Banshee can be defeated as the Banshee, 11,000 XP, which is a pretty big chunk. So, a little bit about the domain as well. So it's considered the Banshee's domain. It's in the Mountains of the Silent Watch. Overall, it's considered to be a neutral good, but not for PCs. And it's really just a small single province domain, Pashacht, which is a level 2 province. And basically Justina controls all the law holdings there, unsurprisingly. No temples whatsoever. Justina holds all the guild power in this domain, as well as 2 guild holdings in Muden and Trite, just level 1s. We saw that when we did our series on the realm reviews. And she, or the source holdings are all held by the Vizier Gastus. So, as you might expect, not too much Regency accumulated, and for what it is, a fair amount of gold accumulated. Now, it's got a unique setup. It doesn't really have a huge standing army, but basically everyone is trained in the militia. So basically once they're 13, and man or woman, everyone is trained. So basically the entire population has some military training. So, and then those who, show the most aptitude are selected for more important roles. So like the patrol. And so essentially, due to the intense familiarity with the landscape of the terrain too, they can surprise their opponents. And then for those who don't necessarily care for fighting or anything, they are found, or there are other roles found for them. So they are then trained more like healers and medics and stuff like that. So what we get then is essentially, if someone were to invade, obviously there's the fear of like encountering the Banshee itself, which tends to keep people away. But there's not quite enough here to like have like army units in the same way that we would typically fight larger battles in Birthright. But essentially, you'd run into about 400 militia, 50 plus healers, the patrol itself, a little more advanced people capable of military action, the constables for all the little hamlets and stuff like that. So, and essentially just like a whole lot of level 1 fighters at that level of training. So then there's also 2 pretty capable lieutenants that she has, and again, pretty impressive for such a small realm. There's Durf Greenfields and Tripper Terrazal, and they help her with training the citizens and essentially running the realm and keeping people from poking too deeply into the Banshee, but again, just really keeping the realm at battle readiness as well. So both Trevor and Durf are 10th level warriors who protect Justina with their lives. So yeah, 2 super high level fighters there, especially for the setting. And then the Vizier and Court Advisor is the elderly half-elven wizard Gastus Rygart, level 13 wizard, which again is huge in this setting. So we've seen even some of the named characters and some of the other realms, even some of the other domain rulers, not even break level 10 in some cases. And here we got like another level 13, super high end for the setting and just in general. So very powerful. So he's her closest friend and confidant, and has basically spent years magically keeping those people close to Justina and the entire population from falling into the deadly clutches of the Banshee. So really, he is kind of the guard against the evils of the actual Banshegh. So basically, this drives the Banshee out into the rural areas, but his prime consideration is Justina and her welfare, not really worrying about the peasants. So, go figure. But that would be maybe a character that, or an NPC that the characters would interact with and come to maybe gradually pull snippets of information out of him, especially if he feels that the PCs could be trusted, perhaps, and maybe explore avenues of maybe trying to separate the Banshee from Justina. So, but also could be a major obstacle in the way of that, as again he is going to be more concerned about her safety and welfare, not really the realm itself. So. Then other NPCs. Brielle Three Fingers is the domain's master smith. He sets the standard by which all the other smiths are treated. And basically he can do things essentially twice as fast as any of the lesser smiths, but basically is responsible for keeping that militia very well equipped, especially for a realm of that size. So the realm itself, again, it's a one province realm, about 10 small villages and hamlets, various sizes. Does have a lot of the sort of geographical advantages. We remember that from the map of the Brecht realms, really just kind of sandwiched between a lot of great natural geographic fortifications. And for what it is, with all the different little hamlets, again, the land itself lends itself to farming, agriculture, and other things. So it's very well self-supplied in a lot of cases, but does some limited outside trading as well. One of the other geographical dangers, though, as it describes here a little bit at length, is the danger of flooding in the springtime, as there's just not enough water drainage. So we do get a little bit more here on the capital, some of the other special locations. Again, the DMs, of course, free to expand upon those and add a little bit more of interest to there. It does have some trade goods. So the sole trade route in and out runs from Banshegh to Muden at the city of Barrier. The people export surplus wool and grains, raw gems from Tabor Mountain, and carved woodcrafts from craftsmen in the southern forest. They import such items as clothing, literature, and raw materials, and ore for weapon making. Allies. Now here's the tricky part. So the Banshee does have peaceful ties with the nation of Muden. Again, more so on Justina's side, of course. The country covertly provides hers with raw ore for weapons to use against Royal Guard. This fight and this trade have continued for years. In return, Justina provides Muden with surplus weaponry and jewelry. The enemies. The fight against Royal Guard began nearly 40 years ago when Justina and her husband moved to rule this isolated province, which is interesting, though, that her children are off living in Royal Guard under disguise. So, and again, that could be a trigger for interacting with the realm and the Banshee, or maybe the characters again find that one of the children is being threatened, or encounter one of the children on the run because they're being targeted and maybe used as like a hostage against the Banshee and Justina. So a lot of different ways that we can start sort of the interaction with the realm. The war, though, lately here, coming back to that, just a lot of little skirmishes between Royal Guard and them, because really the Royal Guard is afraid of the Banshee's power, which, again, has come about once her husband died. Other couple notes here. So the Tabor Mountain's medium-sized mountain, source for high-quality emeralds, which, again, characters, if they've got a little bit of greed in them, they might venture up there to see if they can acquire some of that. It could be a reason to maybe be tasked with going up into that mountain for who knows what by some of the other NPCs of the realm, or maybe something like Royal Guard has sent agents to interfere with any of the mining up there, things like that, and characters are sent there to investigate. A couple other things there. Now the castle itself, last little bit here. Justina's fortress lies nestled amid the slopes of the mountains overlooking the city of Banshegh, where her former palace lies at the city center. Due to the danger of the Banshee, her court has been moved here for protection of Justina and her people. Thus, Banshegh and the center of the domain is guarded by the castle, which is a level 4. So that could be something where maybe the characters do find themselves investigating and gaining some clues, perhaps, in the former palace, maybe sneaking in there for various goods or ill-gotten gains, and come to find out some snippets there. And maybe the characters are initially sort of on more of a quest to just simply try and take out an Banshegh, but then come to learn more about this split nature and split personality almost, and sort of the different day and night cycles here, where she seemingly is a good ruler, but then certainly the realm isn't called the Banshee's realm for no reason. So just a lot of little things to consider here for encountering the Banshee, trying to deal with it. You're presented with this dilemma between, well, she's on the surface a good ruler by all data, right? The population certainly likes her. She's not an evil ruler by any means, but it's hard to ignore those rumors of an Banshegh in the realm, and just getting to the bottom of what is really going on here is really a fascinating allure for this. So hope you guys enjoyed a quick tour here through the Banshee's realm. How would you incorporate that into your campaign? Have you incorporated that in a campaign? Was it the focus of it, or somehow encountered the Banshee, and how was that used? And how could you use something almost like a special character Banshee, maybe in just your more regular campaigns? Let us know in the comments, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll have more Birthright for you soon.